Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to COL Conversations with Marvin Fausto. I'm President of COL Investment Management. This webinar series brings you closer to the leaders of different businesses and known experts in markets and investing. Okay, today we will have an interesting conversation with the people behind Megawide. Alam nyo, I first met this company during its IPO back in 2011. And 10 years ago, they were just a mid-sized construction company ran by young engineers, applying innovative engineering using the latest construction technology. They have built hundreds of tall buildings, even much faster than others. They also built the now iconic Cebu Mactan Airport. Like many companies, they were affected last year and continues to face challenges. But they are now slowly turning around, even landing much larger infrastructure projects. So, to talk more about their journey, we have invited them and invited no less than their prime mover, chairman and CEO, Edgar Saavedra, to understand what lies ahead for Megawide. They will also be offering preferred shares for investors. Joining us today to give a short presentation, no other than their chairman and CEO, Mr. Edgar Saavedra. Edgar has more than 20 years of experience in engineering and construction. He established Megawide less than a year after graduating from college. As founder and top executive, Edgar led the transformation of Megawide from a mid-sized construction firm to now the country's one of the leading infrastructure innovator. Later, for the Q&A, Edgar will also be joined by their CFO, Ramon Diaz. Ramon has close to 40 years track record in finance and general management, both in the Philippines and abroad. His experience spans across industries such as telecom, trading, manufacturing, plantation, and healthcare. Also, we will be joined by attorney Jim Feliciano, Megawide's head of business development. Jim previously headed the Asian Infrastructure Center of Excellence of the Asian Development Bank prior to joining Megawide in 2017. He also served as an assistant secretary of Department of Transportation and Communications. So, without further ado, let's all welcome Megawide. Edgar, kamusta?
Marvin, good afternoon. So,
Good afternoon.
The first time we met, sabi mo, young engineer. Ngayon ba, ano na? The old engineer.
Old engineer na. The young looking pa rin. Young looking
After
pa rin.
10 years. Baka pwede naman old engineer but young looking.
Yes. More mature, di ba? Galing. So, what do we have for Megawide? Ano yung kukwento mo sa amin, Edgar?
Marami tayong ikukwento. So, I have with my team right now, we're going to present a short presentation lang for all the our mga investors natin, so they will understand yung what are the activities of Megawide right now and moving forward, what can they expect from our business and what are we doing right now and are we doing well or hindi. Who is Megawide, no? So Megawide is a publicly listed diversified engineering conglomerate. So we, as mentioned by Marvin, we started as a purely construction company. Now we're into infrastructure. This is because last 2012, when the government launched their privatization or private and public partnership, so we took that advantage and we were one of the first few players who participated in most of the bid of the government, where we bagged the project of the school buildings and the airports and other infrastructure. So I will focus. I'm not gonna focus too long in the previous of Megawide, since our basic history is construction. I'm gonna focus on my last 10 years and moving forward. So Megawide, as our business, as a construction, what is the advantage of Megawide as a construction? First, we are a fully integrated construction company wherein we operate our general construction business down to our own manufacturing of the precast. We do our own batching plant. We own our equipment because we believe a lot of the technologies are really in the equipment. So that's one of the key reason or main item, but the main reason why Megawide was able to grow the company, because we invested even 10, 15 years ago when we were much smaller. We invested heavily in people and technology. So we use new equipment, we use the new methodology, we bring in the new experts from abroad, German, Japanese, French, to help us develop and improve the construction methods. Now, we're also doing horizontal housing precast, meaning we are taking advantage of the current industry where the horizontal development is more resilient to pandemic. So now Megawide is also going into construction of the housing. So we also do commercial and industrial building. This is our bread and butter, especially for the last 20 years. This is where Megawide really have grown the business by constructing or building this type of structure. Now, as mentioned, last 2012, we started participating government projects, particularly the priority ones, wherein we started participating building airports. We also build classrooms, terminals. Until now, we are heavily, we are actively also pursuing other infrastructure projects. I just want to share that Megawide, even during the pandemic and after the pandemic, we have an order book. We used to have an order book before the pandemic, around 52 billion, 2019. And before pandemic, I remember it went up to 56, 57. But when the pandemic strike, there were several projects that got canceled, particularly the commercial ones, the hotels, all those projects, the malls. We have about 8 projects that got canceled or postponed or stopped. But during also the pandemic last year, we were also able to get 2, 3, 4 projects that are larger and also more mix of bigger projects and more infrastructure projects. So in spite of the canceled projects, where we have about 8 billion to 9 billion worth of projects that were canceled, we were able to replenish them with bigger projects. So even during the pandemic, I can say we're proud to say that we have an all-time high of order book. This is during the pandemic. And then during also the pandemic, since last year and this year, we're actively participating infrastructure projects. So next, because what we realized that during the pandemic, that we really need to shift our strategy to those markets that are more resilient to pandemic. We know that half of our business, which is the commercial side, the high-end residential condominium, we know these are the sector where it's greatly impacted due to the pandemic. So we shifted our focus to more infrastructure, horizontal housing, because these are the sectors that are not affected so much, even during the pandemic. We saw it for the last 1.5 to 2 years. So these projects, for example, we won the MCRP package. This is the Malolos Clark railway project going to the Clark. Now we also participated in subway. We bidded the lowest in subway. However, we're waiting for the official award. So these pictures we're showing you, these are the projects that we're doing now. the first few slides that I just presented are the ongoing projects that we're doing for the infrastructure. Now, for the subway, we are also expecting that next year we'll start the construction. So all the preparation, mobilization will happen next year. Now, we are also participating in this many packages of this South Commuter Rail South Line projects and also the subway. So I'm also, what I can say now, in spite of COVID, I think we're able to shift our focus where we have enough potential projects where we can win, where we have a high chance of getting the projects, because luckily there are still few players now in the Philippines, local players. That's why a lot of foreign companies came in, and so we're competing with the foreign companies and with 3 or 4 local players only. Now, aside from that's the construction for Megawide. I'm gonna discuss a little bit for another leg of Megawide business, which is the TOD. It's a transport-oriented development. Now, we call it the landport. So everyone knows that we're operating the Mactan Airport, but we're also operating the PTEX, which is like the landport. So the land transportation terminal. Now, this is the third leg of business of Megawide. We are also expanding this leg of business, meaning right now we're working with LGU in terms of developing their terminals, like BRT system, all transport-related development. So including the Cebu carbon market, this is also a mixed development of transportation with social infrastructure, where we will be rehabilitating or modernize their local wet and dry public market, more than 100 years old public market, or probably the oldest market in the Philippines. So this is one of the renders where we envision for the carbon market to look like the next 3 to 4 years. So we will convert the very, very old dilapidated infrastructure or facilities of our carbon in Cebu to a world-class, first world facilities without increasing the price. So meaning we make sure, in Megawide, that if we offer that, we have to make sure that all the vendors, ambulant vendors, are protected from not like overpricing their rentals. So what we're trying to do there is to improve the efficiency, the cleanliness, and also making it efficient so that we can provide them access to the proper logistics, provide them access to the proper like banks, so that all the lending will be done in a more fair and professional manner. Now, another one, this is also the landport that we're also working with another LGU in Baguio, wherein we will be also developing their terminals and mix of and their logistics in terms of optimizing or fixing the traffic management of the Baguio city, where right now they don't have the right facilities, they don't have the right traffic management, they don't have the right safety signaling system. I mean, very typical in every cities in Philippines. So this is one of our projects. Also, we're working with LGU. Now we are also working with the Cavite province to develop their BRT system, wherein we will have a dedicated line, work with the local bus operators, provide the lane, dedicated lane, so that you are not affected by the traffic, provide that service to the passengers of the Caviteños, and then provide the right service. And eventually for us, we will connect the whole Cavite area to our PTEX terminal. And hopefully, if we can expand more asset, we can connect it to the other cities. Now, speaking about airport, we know that airport is one of the epicenter of the pandemic, right? In terms of the impact, no? But I think later I will be expecting that people will be asking when do we expect that the airport to go back to its pre-pandemic traffic. Now, I think what I just want to highlight here is that for airport, right now, we are dependent on the regulation or restrictions of the government. Meaning, for us, what we can only do in the airport right now is to cut whatever cost that we could, meaning make it more efficient. The biggest cost that we're incurring now in the airport is obviously the capex, which is the interest and the principal. Now we were able, our finance team was able to rebalance our debt structure by able to extend the principal payment to 2024. This will give us enough time to recover and up to 2024. So we made that projection in the worst scenario where if the pandemic will drag. So I think that's the best that we can do in airport now. Now what I just want to show on these slides is that for us, stock price of Megawide has been so low. I think the lowest since our IPO is because our airport business is not being valued at all, almost zero. So we hope if there are talks by Q1 next year where all the classes will be open, all the commercial restaurants will be open. So what we're just showing in these slides is that if you compare to other countries, most of the other countries, they're already at 70 to 80 to 90% of the pre-pandemic traffic. So for us, what I can say now is that if everything goes back to normal, we hope this traffic will go up to this volume. But that will depend on the relaxation of the traffic of the regulations of our government. Yeah, so thank you. That's my short presentation of Megawide. So we can now go to the Q&A.